everyone, and welcome to the first lecture that we have for this semester. This is CRIJ 4355 Senior Seminar. And for those of you who have had me in past online classes, the structure of this lecture is probably going to look a little bit different to you compared to previous classes. Senior Seminar it's not the same type of class that you had with me before. This class is really all about preparing you for when you leave school and you enter the workforce. You know, if you're not already there already, we're trying to prepare you for the next steps post-graduation. So I didn't really feel like this is a class that I need to make PowerPoints for you when this is really so much more about the conversations that we're going to have about things like employment and post-baccalaureate educational opportunities and how you need to work to translate the skills that you learned here at UT Tyler into more marketable and sort of promotional skills that can entice potential employers to hire you as new employees. So over the next few weeks, we're going to begin this semester here sort of exploring the topic of employment. And I want you all to really be thinking about what is going to be the best fit for you. I already know that some of you students are currently working in maybe a CJ-related field, but for the rest of you who are still trying to figure this out, I want you to be thinking about some of the things that we're discussing over the next couple of weeks. Were you the kind of person who always knew that from a little kid you wanted to be a police officer or maybe a correctional officer, or maybe you always talked back to your parents and your parents said you need to be an attorney when you grow up? I can tell you from personal experience that I never in a million years ever thought that I was going to be a criminal justice professor when I was getting my undergraduate education. When I first started school, I was a pre-pharmacy major, and I really intended on going on to pharmacy school at some point. Then I realized that my brain cannot handle that kind of science. I can analyze and interpret statistical data until the cows come home, but my brain struggles with any other types of science. So eventually I found my way to criminal justice, but I still at the time didn't know what I was going to do with my degree. And for a while I was thinking, well, maybe I'll become a probation officer or something like that. And I thought, okay, this could be a good fit. I did some internships in undergrad. I worked a couple summers with federal probation, and I thought, okay, this will work. And as I was moving through my undergraduate career, I happened to take the research methods class like we all do, and I fell in love with the research part of it. And I decided, okay, well, I don't know that this is the right fit for me, but I still had probation in the back of my head. So I decided what I was going to do was go to graduate school, I'll get my master's degree, and eventually maybe I can get in with federal probation. That thought lasted my first month of grad school. I realized, okay, my heart really is with research the way I thought it was in undergrad. And with a research-driven job, because in my mind, this is what I wanted to do now, normally that comes with either academia or a think tank, rather. And I decided I want to go the academic route. So here I am. And grad school is certainly a fantastic opportunity for those of you who want to get additional education, so much so that in a few weeks we're going to spend more time talking about the grad school track and law school track, and we're really going to put some attention on how post-baccalaureate education can impact your career sort of down the line in terms of advancement opportunities. So we'll get back to that in a little bit, but for right now, what I want to do is get back to the idea of finding the right type of employment. So as I said, some of you may already know what you want to do, others of you may already be doing it. But for those of you who are still trying to decide or unsure about what steps you want to take next, we're going to discuss it together in the first few weeks of the semester. So the very first thing that you need to think about when you're deciding on employment opportunities is whether there is a very specific field that you're interested in. I have had previous students graduate from UT Tyler with a degree in criminal justice, and I see them all over town, but the problem is they're working at restaurants, or they're working retail, or they're selling cars, or something of that nature. And by no means is that a criticism. There's nothing wrong with that path. But if you're getting a degree in criminal justice, that's a very specialized degree in comparison to something like a business degree, right? So if you want to use that degree and put it to use, we need to figure out how to get you where you want to go. So when we're talking about a criminal justice career path, probably the first thing that comes to mind for many people is the idea of going into policing. But there's a lot more out there that you can do with a criminal justice degree. You could be a probation officer, like my thoughts were leaning towards once upon a time, but no longer. Here at UT Tyler, within the CJ department, we offer forensic science minor. And as you're sitting here in senior seminar, I mean, to be honest, it's really too late to discuss that track anymore. But it does provide students with some of the necessary experience for them to be able to go down the line into a forensic science field as maybe an investigator or a technician of some kind. And forensic science investigators and technicians, these are the individuals who are working really closely with law enforcement, but they're specifically they're examining crime scene evidence, and they're really focused on trying to figure out what happened during a specific type of event. So if somebody was murdered, they're able to tell from the blood spatter the direction in which the bullet went through the individual's head, or during a sexual assault, how many perpetrators there are based on some of the physical evidence that was left behind. They're more about trying to figure out what went on here evidence-wise rather than who the suspect might potentially be. So that's one way you could go. Many students don't think about it, but another alternative option for you is to become a fish and game warden or a wildlife officer. Especially here in the South, there's a lot of states, Texas included, in which you have a lot of parks and natural areas, and especially states like Texas that are along the coastline, you have all of this available land and coastline for you to be able to go out and patrol. If you wanted to work on a boat, you could go out and you could be one of the wardens who goes after the fishermen, right? And because of the way that Texas is structured, there's a lot of high demand for this type of job in this area. And a criminal justice degree would be a perfect fit there. I know, especially in this area, there's a lot of internships that are available in the East Texas and surrounding areas throughout the academic school year. We always have students that go every single year who go and intern with these different agencies. You could also go into things like fraud investigation. And with fraud investigation, sometimes you're working for a specific business. You could work for the insurance company themselves. But this is a job in which you're investigating things like federal healthcare fraud, large payouts that are given to victims for personal injury at work, things like that, or in some cases, business fraud and corporate crimes. So if white-collar crime is more of an interest to you, this is another route that you could pursue. If you want to work federally, most students always tell me, oh, I want to go work for the FBI, or I want to go work for the Marshal's office, or I want to go work for the CIA. But one of the most overlooked divisions of employment within the federal government in terms of an investigative role is the United States Postal Service. And you might be sitting there saying, well, Dr. Klein, I don't want to go be a mailman. I want to do something different. But as a U.S. postal inspector, you're working for the feds, but you get to work on very specific investigations involving things like theft and vandalism and fraud, and in some cases, identity theft. But the big one that everybody overlooks is the idea of investigating child pornography cases. And you might be saying, well, why on earth is the post office investigating child pornography? But if you really think about it, traditionally, child pornography used to be in physical form, and it was sent through the mail, and thus going over state lines, making it federal in nature. And we still have people that are sending these type of pornographic materials through the mail. Yes, I know in this, late stage, to have physical child pornography is sometimes not something that we always hear about, but it does still exist. And when it happens in that way, it's falling under the jurisdiction of the Postmaster General. So there's another thing that you can do with your criminal justice degree, and this is not even taking into account all of the different post-baccalaureate options that we're going to discuss in a few weeks here. So really when we're talking about employment, it's important to discuss the idea of satisfaction, because let's face it, most of us are going to be working for a very, very long time, knock on wood, right? So if you're spending all this time at a job, you better find something that you enjoy doing. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable. And even if you decide you don't want to go into a CJ-related career, that's okay, right? It's your life. You're the one who has to work there. You're the one who has to live it, right? But at this point, as you're going into the job market, you need to keep your eyes open about what these different careers are really all about. You also have to understand yourself and what you think you're going to be good at, right? So if we take me, for example, the idea of me becoming a pharmacist, it's not going to work, right? My brain cannot compute and comprehend some of the things you need to become a good pharmacist. However, I can do other things very, very well, right? I can write very strongly. I can communicate very effectively. I can analyze data. I can teach. I can do all of these other things. I excel here, but over here, I'm going to be unemployed really fast, right? So you have to go through the same process. You have to understand yourself and what you as an individual are good at. I knew a month into graduate school that I didn't want to be doing anything other than what I'm doing at this exact moment in time. I wake up in the morning and I enjoy working, right? So if we're going into our textbook, chapter 1 of Haar and Hess, one of the things that really stands out in terms of job satisfaction is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And within that hierarchy of needs, you see the things that individual workers need and what is very important to them in order to find a job that is satisfying. And then once those needs are met, these workers can become successful workers. In a job, all of us need to have our basic physical needs met, right? This means that when I go to work, I want to go someplace that has good working conditions. My boss allows me to take a lunch break or any other kind of break that I need throughout the day. I have vacation time. I have sick time, all these things, right? My boss provides me with all the tools that are necessary for me to be able to do my job. After my physical needs are met, I need to make sure that my safety needs are met. I've received the right training. My supervisor is competent and good at their job. Certain safety protocols have been put in place to make sure that I'm not being injured at work, right? It still could happen, but we're working to prevent those injuries from occurring. And once those basic needs have been met, then we're getting into the idea of meeting my emotional needs, right? Some of the base level things on that scale that my work has to provide. So I need things like a feeling of acceptance and belonging, that there is a family or a group of people at work that I enjoy working with, right? When you go to work, every one of us has our own work best friend, people that I'd be willing to hang out with on the weekend, people that I'd be willing to invite over to my house for dinner, these sorts of things. Police and correctional officers are often individuals within that group that describe their coworkers as brothers or sisters, as this true, really family dynamic, right? So there is a camaraderie there that they might not be able to find in other types of work. These are the people that I'm spending the majority of my life with, right? We work a lot more than we have time off. So I'm spending more time with these folks than I am with my spouse or my children or other family members. So it's important that I get along with them in some capacity, right? So once I have my work social network in place, I need to make sure that my career is challenging and I'm being recognized for the work that I'm doing. That recognition could come through big awards, but it might not be. It might be a monetary raise, or it could even be smaller in scale with your boss telling you something like, you know, Dr. Klein, you did really good on this project. You did a wonderful job here. And based on the work that you did, we would like to start giving you more responsibility because we know that you can handle it. Right? So even by getting that small scale recognition, it sort of boosts or increases your confidence and you become a better worker. It means more. It's important to you. You're willing to take on that responsibility because you know you're being recognized, right? And finally, you have to make sure that the workers know that they're making a difference, that I as an individual am valued and I can contribute something to my department or my organization, that my opinion and my decision-making skills are important to my employer and that they value my thoughts. Without that, I mean, you're just another cog in the wheel and there's no incentive for me to succeed. If you let me know that I am replaceable, I will work as though I am replaceable, right? But Maslow suggests that when all 5 needs of the hierarchy are met, then I got a satisfying job. Then I will put in more hours than are necessary. Then I will do more for less because all of my emotional and physical needs are met. And that's really all that we can ask for in a job, right? Something that we find satisfying and something that we enjoy doing on a daily basis. So this semester, we're going to work together towards helping you prepare to find that career that is satisfying, and we're going to develop your marketable skills a little bit more too. We want employers to say, I want that person working for me. And as we continue to climb out of the recession that we experienced in the late 2000s, we're seeing unemployment drop, we're seeing more people retire, and we're seeing more job opportunities becoming available. There is strong growth in the CJ sector. There's always going to be job security because we always need people to be police officers and to work in the courts and to be correctional officers or what have you, right? We need more and more competent employees in this field as time continues to creep along here, right? So in order to send you guys out into the world and looking for that awesome career or that awesome first job, we're going to work together on your resumes, on your job talks, on your interview skills. We're going to get it all figured out before you start applying to things, right? But before we get to all that good stuff, we need to start thinking about what you guys want in your career, all right? So for this week's assignment, I want you guys to read one of the next chapters in your Har and Hess textbook. I want you to look through chapters 2, 3, and 4. I want you to find one of the career choices that is listed in one of those chapters, and I want you to explore what is important to you as a career choice. Like I said, you might be one of those little kids that decided you were going to be a police officer since you were 3 or 4 years old, right? If that's the way you want to go, that is fine with me. But I want you to look through all the chapters anyway, and I want you to find something that you want to talk about, right? Are you somebody who is looking for something that's a little bit less dangerous in nature? So then maybe not policing or corrections. Do you like to argue a lot? Maybe then you need to be an attorney, and that's what this assignment should focus on. Are you a super organized person? Then maybe you need to work in the clerk's office and you can manage a judicial docket. It's really up to you, but this first exercise is an opportunity for you to figure something out and to explore one of the many career options that are listed in your textbook. And it may not be your final decision career-wise, but it's a good start if you haven't thought about what to do next. Graduation is going to be here before you guys know it, right? So we need to get our ducks in a row. We need to start doing it fast. Okay, so just a short lecture to start us off. Next week, we're going to get started on your resumes and your cover letters. And this is a good first step in applying for work. These resumes and these cover letters are not going to be your finished product by any means, but it's a good first step. So we're going to do that, but we're also going to begin exploring the research component of this class and what you're going to be doing for me in terms of your policy paper for the semester. So we're going to talk about how to navigate a good way to find that policy topic and getting started into that semester project. So I will see you guys all next week for the second lecture. Thank you for your time, for your attention, and I will see you then. Bye, guys.